What belief about success, okay, did you have to unlearn the hard way? Multiple, man. Well, first of all, the most obvious one that I've talked about in the past is that nothing is wrong with success. Like, we're a 6-figure-a-month company, and I'm 26, so sometimes I'll get people that have hired me in the past distrust me. You know, we have a lot of racist comments at the moment where people are saying scam or fraud or whatever. But what I've realized is it's just the level of vibration that they're operating at. Like, I operate in expansion. Because I am expanding, my life is expanding as well, right? You have to feel it before you become it. You know, that's an NLP thing. So NLP stands for Neurolinguistic Programming. So a big part of unlearning is actually, first of all, just being expansive and raising your consciousness. So that's been a big focus of mine. How can I kind of, elevate? Because the more I elevate as a person, the more I can share with others, the more I can give to others as well. When did you realize discipline matters more than motivation? Well, I think results tell with that. What happens is a lot of people, they'll watch like a David Goggins video, or they watch like an Andrew Tate video, and they'll be like ready to take on the world. And it's good. I think motivation is good, actually. I think a lot of people demonize motivation. I don't think it's something to necessarily be demonized. 1 second, let me just get the water. I think motivation is useful. I think a lot of people, like, motivation can also be multiple layers. So for example, for me, I don't usually eat my first meal till I've solved my most complex problems in my company or till I've hit the gym. So if I hit the gym around 11, 12, 1 p.m. and then I eat, by the time I eat, that's my motivation. Eating. It wasn't even getting the work done. But then after I eat, I'm like, okay, cool. Now I just need to make X amount of dials or put out fix X amount of things. So by the time I do that, my next reward is my second meal of the day. And then it's like, okay, I get to switch my brain off and focus on something that's more creative. So I think motivation is important, but it is strategic motivation that actually creates the consistency, or the discipline rather. Do you think ambition comes from hunger or fear? Ooh, well, I think hunger is a derivative of fear. To be hungry is to be in a state of lacking. I have no food in my stomach. I am in lack of resources. Therefore, I need to acquire resources to replenish myself, right? So I think being hungry is a symptom of ambition. And ambition as well, you are trying to have more than you already have, which is not a bad thing. A lot of people demonize that. I think it's completely fine when it's in a container that is directly correlated to the objectives and the goals and the purpose that that person has, right? What's the cost of the life you're living? What's up, Sherry? What's up, Bradley? What's up, Chia? All right, what's the cost of the living you're building that nobody talks about? Man, that's a good question. What's the cost? Even a month into this year, I'm going to be honest with you guys, my company's been growing like crazy. I'll put it that way. We hit quota 3 hours ago today, and our quota was an X amount of extra multiple 5 figures a month in new revenue, and we hit it. And as we hit it, I was like, this is actually crazy. We're literally now a top 2 to 3% company in the whole marketing industry, which is crazy, let alone Australia. And I'm grateful for that. But what I'm also realizing is internally, I'm feeling, I was talking to ChatGPT about this. My external reality has grown faster than my internal reality, which is good because, that's what growth is like. But I find myself, I'm a very emotionally even person, internally feeling all these different ups and downs because, now I've got a staff of 50 plus people. Each of them have their own lives. A couple of them, their parents passed away recently. A couple of them have, they've got a child on the way. So I feel myself having to be a rock for majority of the waves of my staff. And that is making me evolve as a man, not even a leader, as a man, really fast, which is, a big part of I guess the sacrifice that a lot of people don't see. You kind of become a conduit for people's emotions when you're kind of growing at this rate, particularly in a service business. Jerome, what's the topic today, King? So the topic today is just a Q&A, man. It's a Q&A about anything, life, business, relationships, marketing, sales, mindset. We always alternate, so every 2 weeks it's either going to be about lifestyle Q&A or it's going to be about, a tactical marketing or sales piece of advice. All right, Albin, what question should people be asking you but never do? That's a very, that depends on the person. If someone was trying to emulate my results, then perhaps the thing in which they'd want to be asking is, how can I work for you? And to be fair, some people have taken that advice, because I told people when I was coming up on YouTube, that was a big hack that I did. I worked for two marketing companies in my early 20s. So now at 26, worst case scenario, we'll do maybe around 3 or 4 million this year, which is worst case, just based on Stripe revenue. But that's because I've been in the environment of a small agency and I've been in an environment of a big agency, right? So that's allowed me to be able to compare patterns at a frequency human resource level. So I know what it looks like, and I kind of, in a way, can emulate it with my own kind of twist on it. Who did you stop listening to once you started winning? Again, that's extremely subjective. So winning for someone can be $1 from your business. A winning for another person can be $10,000 a month. A winning for another person can be $100,000 a month. I'm sure when I'm at $1 million a month at the end of the year, I might be like, oh, this is real winning. But then I'll meet another person that's doing 10 million a month, and I'll be like, I actually spoke to one of Alex Hormozi's staff today, because they go after businesses that are doing between 1 to 3 million a year. And we just happen to be within that range. And I was like, damn, this is crazy. Like, even 1 or 2 years ago, I still watch Hormozi all the time, but it just felt so kind of out of reach to be within that orbit. But now we're essentially his target market for partnerships and acquisitions under his business. So that was really cool. And his guy was like, hey, in March, I'll follow up, and maybe we can get you down to come, to Alex's workshop, meet him in person, all that stuff. That's really cool. So, again, it's not about who do you stop listening to once you start winning. It's more what becomes useful as you evolve. It's the same with if you're in the gym. Like if someone shows you how to shred weight, say you used to be really fat and you lost a bunch of weight and you get skinny. Well, now you're not necessarily trying to listen to that person that's teaching you how to be skinny again. You're trying to look to the person that's going to help you add lean muscle, right? So I think it's the way we ask questions also correlates to the realities that we get. So I try to make sure that when I'm asking myself questions, they're questions that actually lead to the lifestyle that I want. One, security still drives you even now. Very good question. Look, everyone has insecurities in life. And some are public for some people, some are private for some people. For me, I think it's just, again, I didn't come from, when I first started my entrepreneurial journey, it took really long for me to get traction. You guys need to understand, I was about to be quote unquote successful just before COVID, right? That was 6 years ago. So 6 years ago today, I was in Starbucks with my big whiteboard, putting out the plan for 2020. I started to get momentum 2 weeks before coronavirus. I get featured in the paper, right? Wyndham TV, or Star Weekly rather. Shout out to Star Weekly. And that year I signed up politicians and media platforms as clients, which was a pretty big deal back then. One of them was the ex-mayor of Werribee. She knows who she is. So what those things did was it set already a bar for what I could become. And then I had to spend essentially 2021 to 2024 rebuilding just what I'd already tasted.